Educating, informing, serving. Fact TV, keeping government honest.
You are watching a Fact TV presentation of the Village of Saxtons River Trustees Meeting.
I think in the interim,
Oh boy.
we can call this meeting to order.
Let's, okay, yeah, it's 7 o'clock. Okay, so I'm Carl Ball, the vice chair of the board, acting in Amy's behalf for tonight's meeting. So we'll call the meeting to order. It's 7:02 p.m. First order, does anyone have any adjustments to make to the agenda?
Small case? Yeah.
Carl, it's Rob Wheeler.
Yeah,
Can we move up the wastewater agreement at all?
yeah, we can do that, I guess.
Okay. Thanks.
We'll do that after the Sunday stroll, if that works for you.
Sure.
Okay. The other items are pretty quick.
Okay.
Okay. Any other adjustments to the agenda? Okay. Any public comment? This,
Yes, I'd like,
Deborah, not taking it.
Carl,
yes.
I'd like to make a public comment.
10:13.
I'm not able to mute people because I'm not the host, but whoever's got shouting going on in the background, please mute yourself. Thanks. Sorry, Teresa.
That's okay. I just wanted to let the board know, and I sent an email last week, that members of the park committee are working on fundraising money in order to be able to put a few flower boxes on the bridge next to the park.
Oh,
So-
that's wonderful.
No,
Yeah, we thought it would complement the park and our other bridge that does have flowers. So we
Yeah.
have a GoFundMe page that I'll be posting on Facebook to raise some money for that. Any comments or questions?
I think that's wonderful.
Thank you.
I do too.
Yeah.
And I also support Teresa and her efforts. I think, with all our volunteers, we can make that happen and keep it watered and looking good.
Thank you, Teresa.
Okay, thank you.
Any other public comments? Okay.
you don't see it. I didn't.
I think, Rob, if you're ready, maybe we can move that. We should reorganize first, I guess. We need to elect a chair for the trustees and a vice chair. And I think everybody got an email from Amy saying that she was willing to serve as chair. So I would like to nominate Amy Howlett as chair for the coming year.
I second that.
Okay. Any other nominations? Those in favor?
I'm in
Aye.
favor of Amy.
I'm in favor.
Okay. So it's unanimous for the clerk, Ellen. And vice chair. Any nominations for vice chair?
You?
Any second?
Second. I
All
second.
those- Any other nominations? I guess this is my chance. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay. Yes. And then I also want to welcome Kristen as our newest trustee.
Thank you.
And hope you enjoy your service on the board as much as we all do. And thanks to Rick for his years on the board, as having retired. We have 2 offices to appoint. One is an auditor and one is collector of delinquent taxes. And we have volunteers for those jobs. So I would, first, Meg Lucas has agreed to serve as auditor, and Dave Moore has agreed to serve as collector of delinquent taxes. So I would like to move that we appoint Meg Lucas as the 3rd auditor for the village.
I second.
Does anybody have any other suggestions or candidates to support?
And I'm sorry, with me taking notes, appointment of auditor, was that Megan?
Megan Lucas.
Thank you.
Those in favor then? Okay, it's unanimous. And appointment of collector of delinquent taxes. Dave Moore's agreed to serve. Does anybody have any other candidates that we would wish to consider or want to do the job themselves?
More power to Dave if he wants to do it. I vote for it.
Okay. I'm sorry, could you say that again?
I nominate Dave.
Oh, I'll second. Any other discussion? In favor? Are you voting in favor, Ellen?
Yes, I am, sorry. Whoops. Trying to do minutes and.
Yeah, I know, it's tricky.
So you do a good job, Carl. Thank you.
It's tricky. Okay. Are there any other comments about reorganization of the board? I would also like to, I see Inessa is here, our new tax collector and treasurer, so welcome and thank you. Okay. The next item we have on the agenda is the Sunday stroll in Saxtons River.
Yeah.
So for Anne, what would you
Yes.
say?
Well, hi, Carl. It is almost funny to be mentioning it in this way because we try to keep this such a casual, laid back affair. But on Sunday, the 21st, from 2 o'clock until we're done, there's going to be a Sunday stroll on Main Street and any other street where there is activity. We don't keep a roster of who's going to be outside, but I do know the park is going to be having activities. 24 Main is going to have activities. It sounds like Par 13 and the market will both be open and doing things to welcome people, and the inn is supposed to be open. So it's pretty much a casual situation. You just come out and walk around, see who's saying what's going on, meet your neighbors in the spring. So I hope everybody will join us at 2 p.m. on the 21st of May.
Okay.
It's wonderful. And also to remember us folks here on Pleasant Valley Road, because we are still considered in the village, up to Corey Hill Road.
Excellent. Excellent. And I do think that, there's people talking about doing things up several of the different roads. So some musicians talking about things down on Maple Street. So I think it'd be really good to kind of keep your eyes and ears open to see what all is going on. Because as I said, it's a pretty laid back affair. So it's not like there's a registry. I do know that this year, Louise Luring and some others are helping work on a bit of a brochure just to offer new people some printed material so they can know where to learn more about, joining these meetings, about where the library is, how the, transfer station recycling center works, things like that. So she had a draft of that she was passing around last week just to talk about additions and things like that. So folks are, many different good ideas going on to make that happen.
So I was out of town last year when this happened. What did the trustees do? I know that several of us were there.
Amy had a table at the park and different people would come and sit with her and just answer questions for people who had questions about how either the trustees system works or just questions about the village itself. Louise has the Historical Society open as well. So I think that some questions landed over there too. I didn't have time to count last year, but I was told there were about 80 people out and about last year. It was in June. So we'll see how May works as an alternative time frame.
Okay.
I just want to say I attended last year and it was awesome. It was great. I really, really enjoyed it. So thank you very much. I will be at my daughter's graduation from college, so I will miss this year's, but I think it was wonderful.
Yeah,
Really.
well, thank you. Thank you. Another thing to keep in mind is there has been some discussion about should we do one again in the fall. So if it seems like the spring one was successful, this group may want to give us some direction about things you'd like to see in one in the fall. It is, like I said, super casual. It's just a Google Doc. I'd be glad to share it with all of you and folks put their ideas on. If they feel like I'm off track on something, they'll straighten it back out. And then I made a poster to go up at Main Street Arts and a little set of postcards folks handed out.
The park is hoping to have all their benches in place by then. They'll be comfortable benches, not the hard stone ones. So hopefully people can try them out.
Okay. Well, I think it's probably a really good idea for the trustees to have a presence there, a table there, but I don't know how well that's going to work out. Kristen, you're going to be gone.
Otherwise,
Amy,
I would be happily there.
yeah, Amy, I think is away on the 21st. And
I'll
I
definitely.
don't know if I'm going to be available in the afternoon or not. I have a memorial service to go to and the time hasn't been set yet. So I wouldn't be able to be there for the whole time, I don't think. How about you, Ellen?
I'll definitely be there.
Excellent.
Mind sitting at a table for a while if
Yeah, I'm super excited about it.
Come sit in the park with us.
What?
Come sit in the park with us.
Oh, I love that idea. We will definitely be there.
Okay, well, thanks.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh,
All right, now wastewater, Rob.
yes, Rob has asked to move the wastewater treatment plant agreement up on the agenda. So before we get into any of the other longer topics, what would you like to say about it, Rob?
No, I was at home. I'm not at work, but I saw that this came through the email. Didn't know if anybody had any questions about the agreement that I could answer. That's all.
Okay.
It's about the new agreement. It's been around. I know it's now circulated to the trustees.
Yeah,
So
it seems to me fairly straightforward, and there's not any big change in it, is there? In the
no, I don't believe there's any changes in the wording other than the amount of the contract.
I noticed that the the version that I circulated had some yellow highlights on it. I'm just wondering if you can comment on this, on the significance of those. For
Oh,
example,
okay,
laboratory.
go ahead and tell me which page so I can bring it up. 'Cause I don't think mine have, I
Page
printed off in
2.
black and white, so.
Okay,
Page 2 and
so
3.
page 2, E,
Yep.
laboratory testing.
Okay,
It has national pollutant discharge elimination system highlighted, and owner will reimburse BFDC for laboratory expenses highlighted.
yeah, I mean, it's just, I don't know why it was highlighted, but that's basically your discharge permit states the testing that we have to do, and that we send a lab bill out on a monthly basis for those testing requirements that we do. That's basically what that boils down to. We do the testing at BF, or we send out the stuff that needs to be tested.
Okay.
So,
In the same page, letter H,
yep,
there's number 1, 2, 3, 4. There's an and at the end of each of those numbered points, and the ands are highlighted.
okay,
It's just to make sure that we read them and know that they're all being done.
yeah, I'm guessing that.
On page 3, item K, Vermont Office of Safety and Health Administration is highlighted,
Yep,
which, unless that's a change from,
no, just basically we set up programs through our office that make sure that we're okay with OSHA. And we just follow all the procedures out there.
and then in Article 4 on the lower on page 3, you've highlighted additional services highlighted such as laboratory tests, which I assume is just to let us know that those aren't included.
Right. Yeah, if there's other testing that's required by the state that we have to send out in the state permit, that we wouldn't cover that, but basically anything that we've done for testing currently now, we would continue to do in the future.
All this I think was in the previous
Yeah.
agreement, but for some
I'm
reason
thinking,
I did this time, and
I'm
just-
thinking that I just picked out I went and found the most recent one that I had, not knowing that the highlights were on, and just resent it to Amy
Okay,
for her to cycle it, to circulate it around, because I had done this back, I want to say back in maybe December, even November.
yeah,
It never got cycled throughout the trustees, so that may be, I don't know if but the numbers were all the same. I guess I didn't pick up the highlights. My bad.
okay, well, that's okay. I just
Yeah,
made sure we were signing something we didn't know. What we were.
no,
When do you need to have this signed, and who does it go back to?
no, it's just as long as July 1st is when it will take effect. So between
Okay.
now and June 30th.
Okay, so it can wait until Amy gets back.
Oh, absolutely.
She can sign it. Okay. Sounds good.
All right.
Well, I guess we need to decide whether or not to approve it. Did you, Ellen and Kristen, did you have a chance to look it over? Or,
I did look it over, and glad to know it's the same as what you've been using.
Mhm.
It looks good to me.
I didn't have anything that stood out of concern other than those yellow highlights.
when we talked about this last time, Matt had asked about the percentage increases. I gave him the data from the last contract or 2 contracts, and that satisfied him. So it's a 4% annual increase in this contract.
Right.
And
That's correct.
it had been 3%. So, I guess, is there a motion then to approve the contract if we're all in agreement that it's okay?
I'll make a
Kristen.
motion. Okay, thanks. I'll make a motion to approve the contract.
I'll second it. Any other discussion? And in favor? And it's unanimous. Good. Okay, so we're fine with the contract then, Rob, and I'll have Amy sign it and get it when she gets back then.
Okay. Any other questions with me? Because other than that, I'm gonna jump off.
No, is there anything else going on at the wastewater treatment plant that we need to know about?
I know they had to order a motor for the fine screen last week.
Yeah,
Josh was in contact with Ellen.
Yeah.
As I see stuff come across too, I tried to code or at least write down where they got to go before I scan them. So hopefully everybody knows where it's got to go.
yeah.
So yeah, other than that issue with the motor of the fine screen, I don't believe we've had anything else.
Nope, and you answered my other email, so thank you.
Okay.
Okay, thanks.
Well, thank you. You guys have a great night.
Okay,
Bye.
right. Okay. Well, the next item then, going back to a regular order, would be follow-up to the annual meeting. Anybody have any thoughts on how things went? I thought it was interesting.
The annual meeting?
Yeah, a little bit livelier than usual, I thought. It seemed to me that there were 3 topics that people were really concerned about that they were looking for the trustees to follow up on. And so I thought we might not necessarily do anything about them tonight, but we might just bring them up and note that we're thinking about them. So there's the question of the fire siren. There's the question of dog issues in the village. And there's the question of unregistered vehicles parked on private property. The junkyard houses. So I think, and I think Amy has mentioned this in an email too, that the fire siren, I think we should defer that question to the fire department and the fast squad, and opinion from them before we really talk about it, and in terms of what they need, what the requirements for them are, why they feel they need the siren, or maybe they don't need the siren, and have a broader discussion when we've got some informed opinion from the chiefs. Is that okay with?
It's okay with me.
Yeah. Any?
Makes sense to me.
Yeah. So I guess then one of us can reach out to Nick and Art and let them know that we're asking them for some sort of a recommendation on the siren, or some sort of a position, or what would we want them to give us? What would we want them to say?
Well, I think if residents have concerns, I think it's important to hear those concerns, although we did do that at the annual meeting. So I don't know what to do until they show up, because we're just going to have to table it, and I don't know how to approach it otherwise. You know, we can request to have Art Smith and Nick Cushman attend to answer any questions for the next meeting. Or if we want to ask residents to email their questions or concerns ahead of time, they could address them
Being new to the board, so I don't know how everything works, but I think both of those thoughts, asking the community to email their specific concerns and questions, so that way the fire chief and like Nick and Art have time to think about it and respond. Makes sense.
Hey, can I ask a question?
Yeah,
So I also agree that annual meeting went very lively and was interesting. I enjoyed the meeting itself. And, it seems like that discussion about those 3 items that you pointed out are important to residents. It doesn't appear that it came out as action items. So maybe with this meeting or, asking residents, we can make it as action items and actually have appropriate people to respond to them. And perhaps it seemed to me like people wanted some decisions to be made. So maybe there's some kind of actions can be taken, decisions made, something that needs to happen. That's my take from the meeting, annual meeting. Thank you.
Okay, so we'll table it until the next meeting. But in the interim, we will request that people send their questions or concerns to or positive or negative to Art and Nick.
I think that it might be, that maybe we should check with Art and Nick and see if next meeting is time enough for them to
Okay.
respond to things. Next meeting would be June. What do you think? Do you think this is, you think that's time enough or?
Yep.
Okay,
Well, I think that I can email Art and Nick and just ask them if they will be able to address questions and concerns at the next meeting and to attend the meeting.
okay, that sounds good.
Okay.
I have a question. If the next meeting questions are asked and answered, then can the decision be the following meeting, or does it have to be right then and there at that same meeting? Is there like time to weigh in what everyone asked and answered?
I think we can, yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I think there would be time. I don't imagine that that we would be under any pressure to come up with a decision immediately or required to.
Yeah, I think let's start by inviting them to the next meeting. And in the interim, anybody that's listening tonight can reach out to us and we can forward their questions to Art and Nick. You can email any of the trustees, you can call us, you can stop us at the post office.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it would be better to have people send things to the trustees rather than to be bombarding Nick and Art.
Yep.
We can collate them and pass them on to them in 1 or 2 emails instead of 10 or 20. Yeah, Margaret?
Just a question. Would it be helpful to reach out to other towns and villages to see what they do with their sirens if we're somewhat unique? I know Townsend has a siren that goes off at noon every day and it's right across from the hospital. That's got to be a little irritating, but I don't know if there's other towns in Vermont and what their policies are around that, if it's necessary or not. Just maybe do a little homework on that with other towns.
Excellent suggestion.
Yeah.
I wrote it down.
Maybe, maybe the VLCT has got information on this too.
Yeah, they might.
Yes, thumbs up there. Ann?
So I was given a thumbs up, and I also wanted to make one other point Jeff and I talked about. After we learned that there used to be two and that the one on the fire station had died, we were talking about, we're not in like camp, it's got to go. We're in a camp. Is this the right thing? Does it work? Does it do what it's supposed to? And we added to the list, well, if one has already gone, this evaluation before the second one goes out of business seems like a wise thing to consider, so that you know, when it ages out, you know what comes next.
Mhm.
Adding that too. Party.
Okay, thank you, Ann. So we'll table this and you'll reach out to Art and Nick?
Mhm.
Okay. Terrific. So the next item I had was dog waste or dog problems, I guess. And I see Cass is in attendance, so perhaps Cass, you had something you wanted to weigh in on, or?
I just wanted to be present and hear the concerns of my Saxons River neighbors.
Okay, well, the concerns that were expressed at the village meeting were, first of all, that there is a lot of dog waste on the streets. I guess, and some of the side streets in the village. I've got to admit, I haven't paid any particular attention to noticed a lot. And I have two dogs, so maybe I'm just used to it. But it is a problem that people have raised. And is it a problem in the park, Margaret? Dog waste?
I've found a couple of specimens. It isn't a huge problem. I have a dog who I have to clean up after, and you know, I walk all over town. I have found dog waste right on the sidewalk. There's a lot down on River Street, you know, when you go down, you know, from the park and you make that turn, there's a lot right there.
Okay,
Yeah, I mean, it would be nice if people cleaned up.
all right.
It's not a pleasant thing to do, but you know, when you're in town, that's.
Now, I noticed that I walk our dogs on Hartley Hill Road, and I noticed that there's always a little trail on the road there too, that somebody has not picked up after their dog. Not a huge amount, not like New York City, but still irritating. One of the suggestions that was made was that we could, or the town could, install one of those waste bag and collection bin stations in the village.
That would be my suggestion. That's really made the huge difference in Bellows Falls.
Oh, it's wonderful.
We have, let me see, I believe 7 of the stations scattered around the village. I doubt that you would need that many out in SR, but it has made a difference. Unfortunately, like 99.9% of all dog problems, in reality, this is a dog owner problem. One would like to suppose that when you go out walking your dog in an area without a dog disposal station, you of course take along a grocery type plastic bag in your pocket or an old bread bag so that you can do the inverse mitt action on the waste when your dog deposits it. And then you can either bind it up tight and put carefully back in your own pocket, or at least until you get to the nearest general trash bin. But of course, people are lazy, people are forgetful. Um, people have bad morals. They don't do this. And then either it's, well, nobody saw that, or, who cares? Whatever, but that would be my first recommendation, is to look into the cost of that investment. Those went in Bellows Falls back before I moved back to town in '03. So I was not in on any discussion of cost. I imagine probably either our town manager or our town clerk would point you in the direction to find out about that cost and to look at some financing options for putting those in. Beyond that, yeah, sadly, people are much less trainable than dogs. So,
So
you should look at that.
oh, sorry, go ahead, Helen.
No, I'm sorry. to interrupt. I can look into that. I can reach out to
Okay.
Kathleen or Scott.
Okay.
Cass, do you want me to CC you or anything on the conversations?
No, I don't mind being part of any tree or dog or livestock discussion. You don't need to. That's just a matter of prioritizing what you want for your village. If it's, I can tell you when you put them in, it won't be a quick fix. In most communities, I would say within a year and a half, people get into the better, easier habit and the problem slowly ebbs. It is still a slight problem in Bellows Falls. Oddly enough, the last time I had a problem on this line was with a certain individual in our village who likes to avail herself of a dozen of these bags at a time, and whom I've never seen walk a dog. And I don't know what that's about, but the rest of the problem, waste here, waste there. As I say, it's not very prevalent in Bellows Falls. And as far as the offenders go, I can't seem to catch them. So,
Would these have to be on village property?
I'm not
Town
sure about that. I would like to say, going out on the proverbial limb, if they were on, well, I'm not really sure about the village to town split here. I can't imagine if it was on town village that wasn't town property, that wasn't village property, it would be an issue. But I'm not in that branch of government.
Yeah.
Um,
But
I'll find it all out.
I can't imagine very many people wanting one of these in their front yard.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
And
Residentially, yeah.
Yeah, and so that limits where we could put them. So
Right. But Bells Falls tends to have green belts everywhere. So
Yeah.
that's our solution. But you're right. Saxons River is very different that way. So that might be a concern.
yes, that'd have to be something we'd have to think about. Would there be a mechanism for getting those containers emptied, getting the larger bins of waste collected, or would we need to
Right.
have a dog warden in the village to go
Right.
and empty the?
Well, here in Bellows Falls, our town highway department refills the dispensers and removes and refills the waste liners. And I should imagine that if you put this program into place out there, they could find a way to do that. Doing it here in the village, I think they do it once a week. A couple of guys make a circuit and refill and empty and reset the liners. I do not see why they could not do that in Saxtons River as well. In fact, I would say that they would need to, as they do it in Bellows Falls, sauce for the goose, sauce for the gander.
Yeah. Okay.
Are there any other dog concerns that are on your mind?
Well, yeah, the dogs running unleashed in the village
Right.
is an issue. And I know
Okay.
you talked about this to us once already about the
Mhm.
leash laws and when when a dog has to be leashed and when it can be under owner's control and off a leash. And
The happy short answer for you in Saxons River is just as in Bellas Falls, the town has it designated both villages as strictly leash only in public. And there is, as I understand it, there's absolutely no wiggle room there. If your dog is off your property or outside your vehicle, they must be on a handheld leash.
but if you consider somebody who lets their dog out and it's on your property and it wanders off, I mean, I think that's,
Right, and that is a very frequent problem, especially this time of year, all over the town of Rockingham. What it boils down to is, in the eyes of the law, you are seen as being responsible for your dog's behavior 24/7. It's one thing to shrug it off a time or two, but as far as wandering off your property, as far as I'm concerned, once is plenty. Beyond that, you are responsible. And there is, I hate to deal in absolutes, but there's virtually no excuse for it. If you do not know for a fact that your dog will stay on your property 100%, then you have to put your dog out on a tie, you have to put your dog out on a run, you have to have a dog pen constructed, or you have to just go old school and walk your animal.
so for the resident who's got a problem with a dog running loose, what recourse do they have?
Get in touch with me. I will come out. It's particularly helpful if you know for sure the address. This is where it gets murky when you're reasonably sure but don't know for sure what address that dog comes from. If you know the address, then I will visit them, sometimes on my own, most frequently with a deputy sheriff, and we will have a polite but very terse conversation. And 18 times out of 20, that's all it takes. The dog owner is not pleased, but they get the message. Then there are the people who figure, well, after dark, early Sunday morning, you know, nobody's watching, no one will notice. And then I get into the repeat visits and things become a little bit more tense. Ultimately, I can write a civil order citation. They'll start at $35 and go up to $200. And they go up rapidly in value, and they have to be either paid or challenged in court. I write as few of those as I can possibly get away with, but sometimes kind of have to hit people in their wallet before they wake up.
And so if you don't know who the dog belongs to that's following you down the street barking at you.
Call me. I will come out to investigate. I will try to get lucky and locate the dog while it's running about so that I can follow him or her back while they hopefully do their job and guard their yard.
Well, they should have a tag on too, so.
Yeah. Well, it's fairly rare that a loose running dog can be caught up to. You usually have to pursue them to their home ground before they will stop and wait for you or approach you. But I've had 5 years of detective work this way, and for better or worse, I've gotten fairly good at running down chronically loose dogs where they belong.
Okay, well, great. Well, thank you.
You're welcome. I will point out one concern of mine out in Saxtons River from my visits out there on dog matters. And that is the grounds of Vermont Academy. A lot of folks feel that letting their animals run loose all across and back and forth on the grounds is permissible, and actually it's not. That is private property, but it is private property bisected by roads. And by Vermont definition, those roads are right of passage and public thoroughfares. And when a dog is anywhere near a road or crossing a road, they are on public property wherever that road might lead. So I bring this up because I have had, actually, while going out on tree business around the academy, I have encountered people out walking their dogs off lead. And when I remark on them that they really do need to put the lead on the dog, the retort I get is, it's okay, this is Vermont Academy. And legally speaking, it's not okay. So that's all from me. Are there any other concerns that you have?
No, I think not. Anyone else?
Mhm.
Okay.
Oh, thank you much.
Thanks, Cass.
Yeah. If you can, let me give you my number. Jot it down, please. I try to make my number easy to find, but I'm not always successful. That is 802-289-7327. I quite often when you call, you'll get my voicemail. Please do leave a message, instruct other people to leave messages. I do get back to folks. I am on call 24/7 as need be. Like I say, the number is on the health department page of the town website and can always be gotten from anybody at town hall. But jot it down in case you hear from one of your neighbors who is frustrated and needs my assistance.
You got it.
Okay, thank you.
To the minutes. Thanks, Cass.
No problem. Reach out to me anytime.
Thanks again. Take care.
Bye.
So, let's see, Ellen, can you sum up what you have?
Mhm.
We'd like to look into the dog waste containers.
Yeah. I got it all down.
Okay. So just so I know we're going to look into the cost of those containers.
Yeah, I'll reach out to Kathleen, the town clerk, and or Scott Pickup, the town manager. And I'll get back to everybody with the deeds.
Do you know if the space between the sidewalk and the street belongs to the town or belongs to the property owner?
I don't.
Because if that's not private, that might be a place where.
Yeah, and I'll get when I speak with them, I'll ask them about, location suggestions. Maybe we can even get one up by the Saxtons River Rec area.
Yeah,
So, yep.
we don't have an awful
Under-
lot of property in the town.
Mhm.
I mean, municipal property.
Here's two questions. One, do we know where most of the dog poop, what streets seem to have most of the dog poop left? Like I would think if you're walking your dog on Main Street, you're more likely to pick it up than if maybe you're walking it on River Street.
Yeah.
Perhaps
Blue
maybe.
Street is definitely a bad one.
And then would one by the school, when you walk up that way, would that be a possible place that wouldn't bother people to have one there?
It's a good idea.
I know there are a lot of dogs out on the school property, and so, yeah, it's probably a good place to have one.
Okay, great. Okay. So next, unregistered vehicles.
Yeah, so I don't know what we do about this, but it was brought up as a concern. And it's one that certainly has bothered people for quite a while. It's one that Chuck Wise was looking into with regard to the one house on Main Street. And it seemed to me that it was a very difficult problem to solve. It was hard to prove a violation of the state laws. Someone at the meeting, I think it might have been you, Margaret, suggested that perhaps the village could enact an ordinance.
Or some sort of zoning or something.
Zoning to make things more stringent in the village.
Amy did tell me that it is a zoning issue for Rockingham. And so it's up to us if we want to pursue it further.
I'm sorry, Ellen, I didn't hear what you said. What?
Oh, I'm sorry. Amy did tell me that it is a town of Rockingham zoning issue, and that it would be up to us to pursue more information about it for Saxtons River.
Like asking the town of Rockingham?
Yeah. So I'm not, is this something we should table for the next meeting to see if there's interest in, more interest from people? I know that there are a few residents that do want to have something done, but they're not all here.
Well, I think that if this is something that we're going to pursue through the town zoning, it might be a good idea to wait until the town has a permanent zoning officer in place. Right now, Gary Fox is sort of taking over those responsibilities in addition to planning, as I understand it. And I'm not sure this is something he would have time to deal with.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So is the problem just unregistered vehicles, or is it, it's also a problem if a property has 20 registered vehicles on it?
I know from one resident, it was the number of vehicles in a property, and what that does to the soil underneath for contamination.
So it isn't necessarily just unregistered, it could be the number of vehicles.
Yeah, so, and that's a good point. So unregistered and too many. Okay.
Because I think the state law talks about unregistered vehicles.
So in the past, one of the concerns has just been aesthetics. Not necessarily an environmental concern. So that's a good point, Margaret.
Well, maybe I'll just look into it a little bit.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that, Ellen?
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm mumbling. I can look into it, just in general, what the rule is, or what the.
I can do that, Ellen.
Oh, you can?
Yeah, I can
Oh,
take that
okay.
on. Just looking into it a little bit to see what the town zoning says and what the state says.
Okay, Kristen will look into it.
Mhm.
Thank you.
You should be able to get to the town ordinance through the website. I
Mhm.
think that links to all those there.
Awesome.
Okay,
Okay, terrific. This is working out well. I think we're making progress here.
okay, terrific. Any other comments about issues from the annual meeting? Okay. And next on the agenda I had is the village financial practices. And Kristen, you wouldn't have been aware of this, but over the past few months, particularly as we were getting things ready for the budget, we had a lot of difficulty sorting things out, tracking expenses with some huge number of bank accounts that we have, and getting invoices charged to the correct funds and so forth. And we decided that we just had to sit down and as a board, get our financial house in better shape. That we're using kind of maybe outmoded accounting practices. There's confusion with switching from one computer and software to another and so forth. So things have just been kind of chaotic.
Mhm.
And thank you, Inessa, for being here. We wanted to, I think we should get started on deciding how we should approach this issue, what we should do. Now, I don't know how much chance you've had to go over our accounts. Have you had a chance to touch base with Sarah on how things have been done, or?
I had no chance to talk to Sarah yet. I did not see any books yet. I don't have any computer software, nothing. And my follow-up question would be, is there any deadline, any date involved when the switch has to happen between the treasurers, or how do you see that?
Well, Alex, you have experience with this. You were treasurer before Sarah. Can you just speak to how the transition goes or should go?
Sure. I was here to talk about traffic, but I can talk about I can talk about.
Hi, Alex.
Hello. Let's see. So I did that job for 4 years, and the handoff to me was that Margot handed me a computer and some boxes of files and sort of gave me a few sheets that she had made up to give some outlines, and then I sort of went from there. And then
Sorry, what did you have for software?
Quicken.
Okay.
And it's an old computer that's not in fantastic shape, but I used it the whole time and it was fine. And when I handed it to Sarah, I took all the files to her and sort of gave her a walkthrough of it pretty quickly after the annual meeting, and then sort of was on sort of a retainer basis with visiting with her to troubleshoot things for a little bit after that. And there were always just some things from the year past that had questions. So the first year that there's an audit, I was pretty heavily involved. And then after that, I have happily sort of faded into the background. But there is not a very strong set of standard operating procedures or anything there. I was sort of tasked with coming up with a way to track delinquent taxes, and I built a pretty significant spreadsheet that did that. And I explained to Sarah how to keep tracking that. I don't know what the level of sort of continuation of that has been. But that was the complicated thing that we did not have a system for before I came onto the scene.
I do know that we did upgrade the computer. I don't know if you had heard that, Alex. And
Excellent.
Yeah, and the software too. So Inessa, I believe that's what Sarah has been using, but
I think she mentioned it's QuickBooks Online version.
I can confirm that as an auditor, when I spoke to her, she had QuickBooks Online. I think she had signed up for it, but she had not started using it yet. So all the data from Quicken still had to be transferred over to QuickBooks Online, and all the categories and class information in QuickBooks had to be set up. I think it's really critical how those are set up, since this is the beginning to establish everything in QuickBooks and how reporting will be done going forward. So I think it's going to be key to sort of get that right at the beginning.
Carl, what would be your suggestion, opinion, if there's a sense for a few of us, maybe Teresa? Well, Teresa, you probably have to be independent, right, as a auditor, to kind of sit down and talk about logistics. I heard, I think Amy mentioned about a person who helped out Rockingham, town of Rockingham, and VLCT also, that could sort of help to think through this.
I sent Amy that information because I read an article that the treasurer in Bellows Falls, Alyssa Harlow, I believe it is, that at some point when she took over the books, their audit did not go that well, and they actually hired an accountant to come in and help her set up the books, I think. And then the first year after that, when it was audited, the article said there were significant improvements. It was on kind of good ground at this point. So one suggestion I had is we might either want to talk to Alyssa or, you know, see if we might want to hire that accountant as a consultant to get set up and started.
Was that VMAC?
Is it what?
I was wondering, I thought it might be VMAC that had helped with the town of Rockingham.
It was a private accounting firm, and I don't have the name off the top of my head.
Yeah, if you would say the name, I would know, but I can't remember.
I have, oh, I'm sorry. So I went to the post office on Saturday and I have 2 checks, not pearls.
You're getting a new one.
Should I give them to Sarah or Inessa?
To Sarah still.
Okay.
I only have set up the login to those 2 email addresses. That's it. So you suggest to me that I should pursue working with Sarah to take over, not to wait for anything. Okay. I know she traveled, so I'll reach out to her. And I also get, if it's okay with you, I can reach out to Alyssa at Rockingham and just to chat with her, because that's what I pretty much did at my current work. I set up everything on QuickBooks from a different system that they had. So I'm very familiar with classes and I know what you're talking about. The only, probably hurdle would be that I heard that there's 11 or 10 accounts, which is unheard of. So I have to see what's going on.
If you look at the auditor's report this year, Peter and I recommended that we greatly reduce the number of accounts to just a few. There's no reason when you can break them out so easily in QuickBooks that they all have to have their own account. It makes reporting so much more difficult.
Yeah. Well, that's probably where we have to start from the reporting, what format we wanted to see, probably close to what we have now, that because people used to it. So, and just, yeah.
The other thing is that the Vermont League of City and Towns, they also, I think, offer some information on how to set up municipal accounts, which I guess is a little bit different than, companies and businesses.
Yeah, governmental accounting, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so would that be okay if I'll work with Alyssa? Reach out to her?
Yeah, I would say so.
Okay.
You might also, when I was fixing some of Peter Golick's issues with the budget,
Oh, yeah. Mhm.
I talked to a woman, her name is Sarah, and I can't remember her last name, but with the Vermont League of Cities and Towns, who specializes in municipal finances. So I can get you her name, and she might also be a good person to contact.
Is she with the town of St. Albans?
She was at one time with the town of St.
Yeah.
Albans. Yeah.
Yeah, she's awesome. Yeah, I know of her. Yeah.
So
Okay.
I contacted her through the VLCT portal. I
Mhm.
don't know if you're
Yeah.
set up on that or not.
I do. I am. Yeah. Mhm.
Okay. Well, yeah, she's awesome. Absolutely. I strongly recommend talking to her.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Ellen, what's the last name of Alyssa?
Harlow,
Oh, Harlow, right.
yeah, and
Thank you.
I can get you her contact information if you need it.
If you can like copy me, connect me with her,
Mhm.
that I'll, she knows that I'm talking on the behalf of a town, of a village.
You got it.
Thank you.
So would you be able to come back in June and give us an update on what you found out then, Inessa?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's make that as a goal. Yeah.
And you're getting all the email at Saxtons River Treasurer.
Yeah, would you use that one? Yeah, yeah. Mhm. Thank you.
I'm sending you Alyssa's info right now.
Okay.
There you go.
Teresa, what is the deadline for the next audit?
We did this year's audit in March, which was really late. We are aiming to do it in November this year for the books that close June 30th.
So it's like 6 months after it's closed, right? Usually.
Well, this would be less than 6 months, if at all possible, because what happens is if auditors find anything that need correcting or have suggestions, then a whole year hasn't gone by. Like by March, by the time we saw the books from July 1st, the year's almost over and we couldn't make suggestions or get corrections done as easily. So the earlier, the better.
And what's the process of it, if you don't mind me asking? Am I surrendering or you log in on your own?
Yes. We need to have access to the computer to look at QuickBooks and the files to see how things are being filed and recorded.
Oh, the hard copies. Okay. And you need a trial balance, right? At the end of the year end.
That would be helpful. Yep. Yeah, we can get you more details on that as the time comes.
Okay. Ellen, would that be okay if I would have hard copies of those invoices? Not PDFs? I mean, whatever system for everybody to view, but then I can pick it up from you.
Yeah, I can, either one, I can drop them off.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. Because I do have, I set everybody up with access to Google Drive. So I stored all of the scanned invoices there.
You set me up as well as a treasurer?
I did. Well, yeah, it does have treasurer access, so you should be able to see it already. Because I had done that so that Sarah could print them all out, as well as have an electronic copy for her records.
So, like Alex mentioned, Teresa, Sarah would be sort of involved in this year, 2023, right? Audit, right? Or do you feel
not-
like she will be involved?
I haven't done an audit yet. Peter might be able to answer that when the person currently the treasurer at the time of the audit wasn't the treasurer for the year we're auditing. Because Sarah had been treasurer for 2 years. So I'm not sure when we come up with corrections to be made. My guess is that we'll direct that information to you since you're the current treasurer at that point and can make the corrections. And yeah, so I think
Okay.
it'll be all handled with you.
Okay, so I better hurry up and learn.
Well, you have till November.
Get familiar.
And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Yeah. So you would need sort of everything in October, right? Or just in November like that, you would want to start.
In that time frame, we don't have a specific date, but in the fall would be very helpful, I think, for both of us.
Okay. I think I had all my questions.
Okay. Anything else? Thank you, Annette, and thank you, Teresa.
Thank you all, yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay. Alex has been very patiently waiting to talk about traffic, so if nobody objects, we could take him next on the agenda, the concerns about Main Street traffic. Alex brought this to the trustees, actually, I'm embarrassed to say, in December. And we said we would table it until March. And by the time March came, we were so busy with other things, everybody overlooked it. So I uncovered this as I was looking to get things together for the annual meeting and decided we'd better come back to the motion that was tabled. So Alex, is there anything you would like to say to introduce your concerns or your suggestions?
Yeah, so I can't remember exactly who was in charge, but there was this wonderful table in front of the market, and they were having sort of a bit of a like charrette or planning session around the visioning for the village. And
I think it's Amy.
yeah, and there was a group of there was a professor from University of Massachusetts and a bunch of his graduate students, and it was awesome.
Yeah, that was all coordinated by her.
Yeah, and I live right on Main Street, and I've been here and helped, put some money in to pay for the radar signs that are at the beginnings and entrances of town. And I've been here for a lot of paying bills to the Windham County Sheriff. And I occasionally watch them sit across the street and watch people go by at 40 miles an hour in the 25-mile-an-hour zone. And they don't do anything. They sort of shrug. And, on a daily basis, I'm somewhat feared for my small children playing in the street. Or if something were to happen, because people just go 40 or 50 miles an hour along the straightaway of Saxtons River pretty much all the time. So I've just been thinking about remedies to that, and I've sort of been paying attention to other towns in the region. And over the last year have noticed that Keene, New Hampshire, Brunswick, Maine, and Northampton, Massachusetts have to varying degrees installed speed tables on significant streets in sort of quiet village pedestrian areas. And if you Google, speed hump or speed table, it's a 4-inch high structure that's sort of, I don't know, it's a rhombus of some kind, I guess, but it's pavement on the ground, and it's a bump. And it has a ramp up and a flat top and then a ramp down the other side. And they seem to be a very effective physical way to slow people down. And the concerns that were raised when I brought this idea up in December were mostly around, the snowplow guys will hate it and they will never deal with it. And my sort of response to that is that's a really tough argument to sustain for a long time, because I don't know, it's the question between like running over small children or asking your snowplows to slow down too. It's not really like and all these other towns in New England who have snowplows clearly do this. And so it's like, okay, other people deal with this. It can't be that terrible. I have no idea what sort of the groundwork would need to be laid in order to think about something like that. 121, I guess, is a state road or a town road. I don't even actually know. Yes, it's a state highway. So I was putting that out there as sort of I figure that's probably the only thing that might actually slow people down in town, short of us gaining a reputation like Bridgewater or Plymouth, where they issue so many speeding tickets that every single person in the state knows that those are the towns you don't drive fast in. But I haven't seen us do that. My other suggestion that's a lot more complicated was simply trying to think about how to make Main Street less straight. Because Main Street, as you know, presents itself as a drag racing speedway because it's a straight thing, and your tendency as a human is to want to go fast when it's straight. And so my other suggestion was to think about whether we could give our street some sort of a meander by installing a little green swale or a green space somewhere along Main Street so that the road had to go a little bit one way and a little bit the other way. There's a huge, I don't know how wide Main Street is, but it's probably 80 feet wide in many places. So there's huge room there to have a lot of sinuosity without sacrificing anything for big trucks and everybody. That was sort of frowned upon as potentially impacting parking on Main Street, which is, I think, a pretty valid concern, especially as we get, the inn going again and the par 13, and sort of, I think parking is important. So, another option would be, putting a small roundabout where Pleasant Street hits Main Street. There's plenty of room there to do that. Keene also does that a lot, and they have it engineered so that trucks can pass around it very easily, like 18-wheelers. So those are all my ideas. I don't know if any of them are of any interest to anybody else, but I've just, I don't know, I get frustrated with people driving fast on Main Street.
I agree. Margaret?
Oh, hi. The other thing I've seen is in Bellows Falls, they have, I think it's your idea of sinuosity. They have these little islands that jut out that make the road narrower in certain areas. Of course, we have the post office, which is too narrow, but
yeah, I don't know how you get 2 cars by those parking spots, but I guess you expected to.
But that may be something that wouldn't involve one of those tables that you speak of, but I would imagine a snowplow could handle a table like that. They just have to slow down and raise the plow a little bit and then go back.
I mean, the plow bumps is a floating thing anyway, and it's just a matter of not hitting it at 40 miles an hour, I think.
Right.
But I don't drive a snowplow either, so.
I'd be curious to see how, like, if speaking to somebody in Keene, the highway department or the town offices, how their snow plows deal with it.
Yeah, because I think in Saxtons River, you'd need to probably put 2 of them in.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them would probably be around where School Street heads up. And then one of them would need to be kind of at this end of, like, the eastern end of things.
Mm-hmm.
So you'd have to have probably 2. I mean, I would be happy to do, I had hoped to have a little presentation for you all with some pictures and things, because I've been taking pictures in Keene where I drive through and I'm like, oh, it's a speed hump. We should have one in Saxtons River. But I've had a super busy work time recently, so I'm happy to do a little bit of research and report back to the group.
Yeah, I think I would like to hear that, because I agree with you, because I live on Pleasant Valley Road, right where you start up from 121, and I swear that people are just gaining speed along Main Street so they can fly up Pleasant Valley Road.
They're flying down from Pleasant Street as well, from where the A is, where I am.
Yeah.
Down Pleasant Street.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I can hear them on Main Street, like revving, and then zoom, and they're going, right past the wreck. And
it's 25 there, right?
Oh yeah,
it's 25 all the way out to just past the wreck.
Yeah. And
Alex, I really liked your ideas. I was wondering if the group will be okay. I work for Wyndham Regional Commission, and transportation is one of the areas we work with. I can ask our transportation planner. I wonder if, isn't it the V-Trans right across the street?
It is, yeah, they're renting that building.
Maybe they will suggest some kind of, research for us.
Yeah, I could
Yeah.
poke my head in there some morning. They're always there about 6:30, and I'm often up pretty early, so maybe I could get them
Yeah.
early and offer them some coffee.
I wonder if, this is, who makes this decision? That's my question. I'm not sure. Is it the state or is it the?
Yeah, I
Rockland
can
or-
ask around a little bit, and I just think it's such a great opportunity for the village, like hearing about the idea of the stroll around the village, and like the inn is opening up again, and the market is rejuvenated, and we're having this new restaurant. It's like it needs to be friendly for people to sort of wander and walk around, and right now it's like terrifying. And so like it seems like a lot of convergence and a really cool chance to think about it pretty broadly.
Yeah, and Alex, I'm happy to do some research along with you and Inessa. Because I'd be curious too, because I worry greatly about right here in front of my house by the rec area. Because there's been times I just went around, so I'd throw something at the car to get it to slow down.
I've let my guard down and yelled at people as they go by, as does my neighbor Will. And mostly we just get a rev and people going faster. And you're just like, oh, okay.
I suggest paintball guns.
Okay, so Ellen, Alex, and Inessa will do research. And I can email both of you to start the dialogue. Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you all.
Thank you, Alex.
Great idea, Alex.
Maybe we can use that research that the group set it up too. I believe they had like ideas of different colors or something like that. Paints in the around the Main Street arts, around the post office. Yeah.
I think that's a great idea.
I think we have those results, right? We have those presentations from the students in first. Mhm.
Yep.
Yeah, we should.
Okay, so then, cool. And then, are we all set, Carl, for the next one?
I think in terms of actually putting anything in place, we'd have to have the town behind us, obviously, and there would be some contact we'd have to make with the state about the issues with it being a state highway, but we can take a look at some of the options and see what's.
Okay, yeah, I agree. And then what is Bellevue Avenue stump dump?
Okay, you know where Bellevue Avenue is?
Yep.
Okay.
I do.
If you drive way down to the end of it, and I have to admit, I'd never been there until after this came up, but I went down this weekend to look at it. You drive all the way down to the end of Bellevue Avenue, there's a big vacant field with a chain across it, which I guess used to be where people would take brush and tree branches and stumps, and they would dump them there, and the town would periodically come and pick them up and cart them away. So it was a waste brush disposal, closer than the one down at the recycling center on Route 5. And the town recently cleared everything out of there and put a chain across it. And according to Scott Pickup, it was for two reasons. One, there was a lot of non-organic trash accumulating there, meaning things other than tree branches. And it was, and I'm not sure why this would be, a problem for plowing in the winter. So plowing and garbage dump there were the reasons they decided to clear it out, put a chain up, and take all of your brush over to the recycle center. And I wrote back to Scott, or emailed back to Scott and said, well, you know, I asked at the recycling center and they don't want anything bigger than 3 inches, maybe less diameter for trees, and they don't want you to bring too much at a time. So this is going to come up before the select board for discussion tomorrow about maybe changing some of the policies for wood disposal now that the spot in Saxtons River is not available. I don't know what will come of it, but so we had a couple of people contacted us asking what had happened to that brush disposal site and why couldn't they get rid of their waste wood anymore. And so that's why it ended up on the agenda for tonight.
And you said it was going to be brought up on is it the town meeting?
Town select board, yeah, the town select board meeting, and that'd be tomorrow.
Carl,
Yeah,
the town has at times come around to pick up, I know they pick up leaves off and on. And one time I asked when they were coming by, I had some branches and stuff, and he said, oh, sure, we can pick them up too. But I don't think a lot of people know that they do that.
I think you're right, Martha.
Sugar, and that might be.
and
I
there,
didn't know they did that.
well, I don't know that they do that either.
But they do.
Well, they say they do. There's a lot of branches in the ditches along Hartley Hill Road.
Yeah.
Have been there for a long time, and the town knows that they're there. And so while they come around and pick things up, I don't know how often that happens. And I don't know how big a priority it is for the highway department. I think it's something they do when they can. But I don't think there's a regular schedule for it. We could ask.
I mean, even if they did it once a month and it was publicized, then you knew you could put your stuff out on the curb. Anyway.
Yeah.
Carl, so are we seeking for more information about Bellevue Avenue stump dump, or are we seeking for it to be reopened, or what's the?
Well, the residents who contacted Amy, I think, would like to have it reopened, or at least want to know why it's closed. Yeah, I think it makes sense to me that the best solution would be to have it open again. It's a long way to drive over to Bellows Falls.
Yeah, I've been living here for over 20 years, and in cases when they find trash, that's when they close. Then slowly they reopen it, and then they close again if they find trash. So seems like maybe has to be a communication, no trash, or some kind of, I don't know. They have to make a decision, yeah.
So this has happened before?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't even know that it existed, so I
didn't
was.
either.
I didn't either.
I've lived here 30 years.
The other place where brush gets thrown, I've noticed, is in the back of the cemetery.
Oh, really?
Down that big ravine, and sometimes there's trash there too.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, trash was found at the fire station as well. When I was a trustee, it was on the side where the trucks come in.
And before I put fences up and made pastures, that bank at the back of our property was a a brush and trash dump too.
Wow.
I met a guy, this is before we moved here, but I happened to be here working on the sewage, dumping stuff over the bank, and I said, you can't do that here. He said, oh, the guy who owns this place doesn't live here. My son says it's okay. So, no, if you're not there to safeguard it, or you don't have a fence up or a chain up or something, trash will get dumped there.
Yep.
And one of the issues with going over to the transfer station is it's 3 days a week, half a day, kind of inconvenient time for a lot of people. And Bellevue Avenue, as I understand it, you just drove up any time. It wasn't set hours. And so you sort of need, and I know the cemetery, people just go there whenever. You need something like that, I think.
Yeah.
So either you need to, it would be great to have Bellevue Avenue open up again, but I can understand that if you live up there, you don't want it to become a garbage dump either.
Yeah. We have a bear here too.
Is that where you live, on Bellevue?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well. Well, so I guess I brought it up just as a complaint and a concern, but I think we can follow up depending on what happens at the select board meeting tomorrow night. I will try to get indoors and watch that meeting on Zoom tomorrow, so that I can see what happens. I won't be able to have the Bells Falls by the time they start, but
It might be helpful to find out if they actually do regular pickups, or if it, how often they do it, if they do it.
They do it in the fall for sure. I was told you have to have them in a bag, the leaves. And the branches were just catch can. So, but if once a month, for instance, they picked stuff like that up, that would be helpful if people knew about it.
Right. Is it advertised when they do it in the fall?
No.
Okay.
And is it Andy? Is he the town highway guy?
highway guy.
Yeah.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, I think he was the one who mentioned it, so I don't know.
Well, I will email Andy and ask him about it. About the leaf pickup and branches. And just see what the procedures are. And maybe something interesting will happen tomorrow night too.
Okay. So then we have, are we all set on that?
Yep, I think so.
Okay. And now the committee reports and updates. I don't have anything, because Margaret, you do?
I'm leaving.
Okay. Amy's not here, so I assume there'd be nothing new on the planning grant.
Yep.
Fire station, Matt's not here.
Mhm.
Rob's already just mentioned that part that they had to replace. And MERP,
I don't have anything for MERP.
I put those all on because they were on past minutes and we just routinely put them on. Okay, no reports. That's easy. Next item, the minutes from April meeting to be approved. There is a correction that I was asked to make in the minutes, where we were discussing the sewer and zoning for the two businesses that have opened downtown, the Par 13 and the coffee roasters.
Oh, right.
And the minutes said that Amy had asked Gary Fox about being notified of changes. And she informed me that what she actually had done was she had asked Gary Fox about those two buildings specifically. So that'll be corrected in the minutes.
Okay. We want to make a motion to approve the minutes.
Sure, go ahead. Yes, we need a motion and a second and a vote.
Make a motion to approve the minutes from April 13th, 2023 with the changes Carl stated.
Second.
It's actually April 3rd, I think.
Oh, I was reading April 13th here.
Yeah,
Sorry.
that's a typo.
Okay, you're right.
Carl is a lousy typist.
So's Ellen.
I'm gonna head out, guys.
Thanks,
Hey, thank you.
Ellen.
Vanessa.
Hi, Anessa.
Take care.
The warrant and bills for approval, I can make that super simple because I can put it in the chat group here. I don't know if everybody can see it. You guys see the chat feature?
Mhm.
Down along the bottom, your buttons, you'll see what
I
it
see
says.
it.
Yeah, you can stretch that screen, pull it to the left, and then you'll be able to see it larger. Since we can't share the screen. Can you guys see it okay?
I can't stretch my screen very far. How far should it be able to go?
Well, probably just as, it doesn't do much. So I can just run through it real quick. The warrant for May 1st, 2023 in the amount of $17,304.32. We have bills there for authorized payment to Coda and Coda for the fire department, the wastewater treatment plant. Amy was reimbursed for toner cartridges, Green Mountain Power for the rec area, Green Mountain Power for the fire department, Green Mountain Power for the treatment plant, Casella for the wastewater treatment plant, and VTEL also for the fire department, wastewater treatment plant, and then also Saxtons River rec area. Then we have Brown Enterprises. And that was for plant maintenance, more Coda and Coda oil delivering or fuel for the fire department. Then we have La Valley, Samuels, Sinells. And then finally, those are all wastewater treatment plant, and then Liberty Mutual for the surety bond. And so thank you, Carl, for answering my question. Brings us to a total of $17,304.32.
So what was the Brown?
The Brown Enterprises, that was for $104.43. And it was for plant maintenance for the wastewater treatment plant.
Okay.
And I'll also send you all a copy of it too. But you, oh, I'm sorry.
How many overdue bills did we have in there? There were a lot of
from what I saw, none.
Okay.
So that was good news.
Seemed Coda and Coda's name came up a lot. I thought there must be some duplicates or some overdues in there.
Oh, that's a good question. No, I get multiple statements from them for every time they make a fuel delivery. So for each time I pick up the mail and there's an invoice, I add it. So that's why you see multiple charges, because they just keep delivering oil and fuel.
And you get invoiced every time they deliver.
Yeah.
Huh, I wonder if,
I get statements, I get invoice, it's completely different than like, you know, being residential.
okay,
So it's, it threw me off because there's just a lot of mail from CODIS.
okay.
So,
Nothing in there sounds out of line.
nope, the biggest bill was $2,886 to Casella, and that is consistently the same amount every month.
How about the emergency expense at the treatment plant?
Oh, we haven't gotten invoiced for that.
Okay,
So I authorized, he called me kind of after the fact to say that he had authorized it, you know, and I said, well, I trust your judgment, you know, you need this. So, but we have not yet received that bill.
it seems to me that we at some point voted as trustees to give the operators there the authority to do that for an emergency replacement. So I think that's okay.
Yeah, I thought so too, because Josh was filling in for Rob, if I
Yeah,
remember correctly.
yeah,
And you know, he gave me all the details. And I emailed all of you. I CC'd you guys in the email just to let you know that this is what was asked for and that I said it was okay.
well, if the treatment plant needs it, it needs it. There's nothing. there's
Yeah, and I'm not qualified.
debate there. And they've got a pretty healthy balance in their account.
Yeah. So we just need to make a motion to approve the warrant and bills.
I'll make a motion to approve the warrant and bills.
Carl, do you want to second that?
I'll second that.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
I think your motion should include or you should include in the minutes the amount of the warrant.
Thank you. I absolutely will do that. That is for $17,304.32. Signed, Carl Ball, Ellen Lawrence, Ellen Clark Lawrence, and Kristen Spordow. Yay.
Ah.
Okay. I think we're just about done.
Just about. Other business.
Nope.
Hey, I have two items,
Okay.
both of which came to me in emails today. First, you recall the solar farm.
Oh, yes. Okay.
Yeah,
Kristen, are you aware of that?
I did see that email with the change in the plan.
Right, okay, so just so you know that they're going to change where the access road goes. As far as that, what's important about that for us is it takes the entire project out of village limits. So technically, we don't need to be anymore to be involved in it at all. And if the plan had been devised that way to begin with, we wouldn't have been. But I assume that they're going to go ahead with that unless the state regulators have some issue with it. And the second item, which I haven't had time to look into this because I saw it at about 6 o'clock this evening. But ARPA funds are being made available for wastewater plant pre-treatment grants. So if you have an industry in your municipality that generates a lot of toxic waste, this would be a way to pre-treat that waste before it goes into your sewer system. there are grants for municipalities or for municipalities on behalf of commercial entities. I don't know if it's anything that would apply to us or not, because I haven't had time to read the documents, but if anybody's interested, I will forward you the email link if you'd like to see it.
Carl, are you saying that there are funds for pre-treating things before they go into our village sewer plant?
Yeah.
Like, do we have anything in our village that would apply?
Well, we don't have any industry like that, but I don't know if any of the for example, if the coffee roasters, I don't know much about the process of coffee roasting, but it's possible that it releases some sort of material that should be treated before it goes into the wastewater stream. If we had a brewery, it would definitely apply to a brewery.
Okay.
Really?
Oh yeah, I worked for a brewery, so I know that they had to pre-treat most of their water before it went into the Milwaukee sewage system because of the chemicals that were used in different steps of the process. That water, a lot of it had to be dealt with. Or if there was alcohol in it, for example, or waste beer, you had to handle that differently too. So there's lots of biological or chemical contaminants. If you have a large enough quantity, your municipal sewer system may or may not be equipped to handle them. We can. I'll send you the link, and you can look at the documents and see. They do say specifically that the money can't be used to upgrade your wastewater treatment plant, unfortunately. So it's for pre-treatment purposes only.
Okay.
Okay. That's all the other topics I have.
I don't have anything else.
Okay, nothing requiring in the executive session. Somebody want to move to adjourn?
I'll move to adjourn.
Hey, thank you all for coming. And Kristen, I'm sorry that your first meeting was one of the longest ones we've ever had. They're not.
Oh,
usually
that's
this long.
good
They're
to
not
know.
usually this long. We have a lot to cover tonight.
Well, I'm learning a lot, that's for sure. But it's interesting.
Yeah, it's fun.
Mm-hmm.
Just wait until you get assigned to become a committee of one, a special task. Okay, well, we are adjourned.
This meeting was recorded by Falls Area Community Television, located at 1 Hospital Court, Bellows Falls, Vermont. If you would like a copy of the meeting, our phone number is 802-463-1613, or email us at fact810@gmail.com. Falls Area Community TV, keeping government honest.